Imagine this, a civilization so incredibly advanced that it mastered the stars, created a calendar more accurate than anything in Europe, and built these breathtaking cities that just shot up out of the jungle. Now imagine it all just vanishing. That's the amazing and honestly kind of creepy story of the classic Maya.
Right? I mean, that's the big question that's been bugging historians and archaeologists for, well, forever. They weren't just wiped out by some invading army, and they didn't just decide to pack up their bags one day. So what in the world happened? Come on, let's go dig up some clues behind one of history's greatest puzzles.
Okay, so before we can even begin to understand their fall, we have to appreciate just how incredible their rise was. See, the classic Maya weren't just one big single empire. They were this amazing network of super powerful city-states that basically ran the show in their part of the world for centuries.
We're talking about a civilization that bloomed in the middle of these thick jungles in what we now call Mexico and Central America. And these weren't just little villages, okay? They built massive, sprawling cities like Tikal with tens of thousands of people. They mapped the stars with unbelievable precision, came up with the concept of zero all on their own, and had one of the most complex writing systems in the ancient world. It was this intricate society of godlike kings, powerful priests, and a huge population of farmers who fed everybody in these giant cities. For more than 500 years, this was their world, a total golden age of incredible art, science, and culture. But as the 8th century started to wrap up, something began to go very, very wrong. That golden age started to fade, and what's known as the Great Unraveling began.
What's just mind-blowing is how fast it all fell apart. I mean, you look at this, you see centuries of things being pretty stable, of growth, a civilization at the absolute top of its game around 750 CE, and then, bam! In the span of about 100 years, everything in their southern heartland just collapses. The great cities are empty. The population just nosedives. It's an absolutely sudden and catastrophic failure.
So, what could cause a breakdown that fast and that total? Well, the truth is, there was no single smoking gun. What researchers believe now is that it was this devastating mix of things, a whole series of crises that were all connected, feeding into each other until they just completely overwhelmed the Maya city-states.
Yeah, this quote really just nails it. It wasn't one bad thing, not just a bad harvest or losing a single war. It was a perfect storm, where a bunch of disasters all hit at the same time, creating this awful domino effect that brought the whole system crashing down. The first big hit came from the sky. Or, more accurately, from the lack of anything coming from the sky. Scientists have found clear evidence of these really intense droughts that lasted for decades, hitting the region right when the collapse was happening. And this wasn't just a dry summer. This was a full-blown climate catastrophe. It would have destroyed their crops, dried up their water sources, making it pretty much impossible to support those massive cities. So as you can imagine, when vital things like food and water get scarce, that pressure just explodes. Competition between the city-states spiraled into constant, brutal warfare. You can actually see it in their art and writing from the time. They start focusing more and more on war and conquest. This non-stop fighting just drained their resources and completely destabilized the whole region, which meant there was no way to bounce back.
And all that instability, it shook the very core of Maya society. Their kings were seen as divine, you know? They were supposed to talk to the gods and make sure everything was okay. So when the rains didn't come and they started losing wars, the people's faith in their leaders just shattered. Dynasties collapsed, and the political structure that held everything together just disintegrated into chaos.
The final piece of this terrible puzzle was the economy. With all the wars and the political chaos, the trade routes that the cities depended on for essentials, things like salt, obsidian for tools, they just fell apart. The entire economic engine of the Maya world ground to a halt. The cities simply couldn't provide for their people anymore.
But you know, all this talk about collapse leads to that really popular myth of a vanished civilization. And this is where the story gets even more fascinating, because the real story isn't about disappearing. It's about transformation, and it's about survival.
So the legend says the Maya just poof, vanished into thin air. But the truth is so much more complicated and honestly so much more inspiring. The people didn't disappear. The political system in those southern cities collapsed, yes, but the Maya people, they adapted, they moved, they built new lives, and they endured.
So while those great southern cities were swallowed by the jungle, cities up in the north, like the famous Chichen Itza,
they actually kept going and even thrived for centuries longer. And here's the most important part. Today, millions of descendants of the Maya are alive and well all across Central America. Many of them still speak Mayan languages and practice traditions that go back thousands of years. They are the living, breathing legacy of that incredible civilization.
So look, this isn't just some cool story from the ancient past. The fall of the classic Maya holds this really powerful and really relevant lesson for every single one of us today.
It teaches us about this crucial idea called civilizational fragility. It's this wake-up call, a reminder that even the most advanced, powerful, and seemingly unbreakable societies are not immune to collapse. When that perfect storm of environmental change, political chaos, and resource shortages all come together, the exact same pressures the Maya faced, well, the foundations of any civilization can start to crack.
So the story of the Maya isn't just a history lesson, it's a warning for our future. As we face our own massive challenges with climate, resources, and politics, it kind of forces us to ask a really tough question. Are we actually paying attention to the lessons written in the ruins of their fallen cities?
We really hope this explainer gave you a whole new way to think about the incredible story of the Maya. If you enjoyed it and you want to dive into more of history's biggest mysteries with us, do us a favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And you should definitely stick around, because next time, we're heading to a totally different part of the world to uncover the secrets of another lost empire. And what we're going to find might just blow your mind. Thanks for watching.